Alright, gang, today we're going to talk about some Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Or not just that, but it works for that. The first thing on that topic we're going to speak about is double stats, what they mean, what it actually does when you have, like, a dexterity score, for example, and then a slash, and then a separate additional score. Basically, what that means is it's so utterly high that you're approaching, like for dexterity, it means you're approaching, like, World Elite Ninja. And like, so the way it works is the way we did it way in the past was that you either roll two dice that don't have a bonus, or you roll one dice but you have two stacks of the bonus. And basically, what it means is you're like world elite, super, ultra anime main character level stats is basically what it means. It's really hard to get that, and not many people have that on anything, but a select few do. Some things effectively have that because of their size class, the Tarrasque, huge dragons, certain other things like that. Um, the Tarrasque would have a double stat on Constitution and Strength from its size and weight alone, and an air elemental would have a double stat on Dexterity because of its speed and lack of any meaningful weight to its form. Uh, we're just going to hit a bunch of random topics. The next thing we're going to talk about is vital points, which are exciting because they're like do massive damage from hitting a small spot. They only work on things that are alive. They only work on things that have internal systems. But basically, what they do is they allow any random hit that hits them anywhere correctly to do way more damage, and also do other things like paralyze a limb for a round, or make a limb suddenly break completely, or make a shoulder break suddenly completely, or make something internal start bleeding suddenly. And the way that works is the way it works is you have to have a skill that allows you to purposely target that, and it has to be against something that has those to target, because not everything does, and it has to be something that's alive. It can't. I mean, yes, technically, some things that are not alive do have them, but they're less vital in that case and more like structural durability type stuff. Like, of course, there's certain areas where if you successfully hit a golem there, it's going to break something internal. Or certain areas where if you successfully hit a skeleton there, it's going to break something completely off. But that's not a vital point because it's not vital because it's not alive. And usually the way we do this is you have to have some skills and appropriate stats. Your dexterity has to be above a certain fixed amount, and your strength has to be above a certain fixed amount, and the size of your target has to be near your own size. And there's some filters there where you can only use it on certain things. It's not an instant win usually, although some of them do actually just kill an opponent completely outright when it's done correctly. But that's when it's done correctly and you roll a 20 and it's completely perfectly done and a bunch of other stuff is happening. So yeah, basically for me, the way it has to be for most targets is your dexterity has to be above at least 14 and your strength has to be above at least 16. But if those two things are at correct amount and they are um, the used against something that has vital points, you can use them. And also, there's a small chance, like 1 in 100, I think, maybe, but might be even smaller than that, that any random hit hits a vital point correctly. Not everybody does that. That makes combat a little bit more jiggy because you have to do some rolls that are here and there, not many. So not everybody does that, and sometimes people who are dungeon masters just decide you hit one because it's easier than the other way, which is roll a certain dice every single time you swing, which is kind of it's not cumbersome per se because it's kind of pointless because the chance of it occurring is very small. The next thing we're going to talk about is meaningful magic. Magic has been under attack to some extent, and people have been saying we should reduce the power level of magic, or just take magic completely out of the game totally, which is an extreme position, but There are people in the gaming world that are saying we need to just take magic out completely because it's unfair to people who can't use magic, which is a more equity bullshit that I'm not going to do ever, period. And I encourage everyone who watches this video to not do that because it's ridiculous. That's like taking the magic ring out of Lord of the Rings. That's ridiculous and stupid. But meaningful magic, one of the very, very important things that people forgot somewhere along the way is you don't have to use the spells that are in the book. Your character can actually, if their intelligence and wisdom and whatnot are, and their various magic stats are high enough, you can invent completely new magic. It's going to take a bunch of casts for it to get standardized to where it works correctly and works correctly all the time. But yeah, it's not really that complicated to do. It just requires wisdom of 16 or above and intelligence of probably also 16 or above. And it requires multiple more rolls for it to really do correctly because it's just like it never been used like that basically. So it's like never really tried that. So it's like the energy that you're exhausting has never really tried that before and is not certain it's going to really actually do that. So yeah, but non-spell based magic is like you don't want to do it in the middle of a battlefield because you might blow yourself up or do something way offhand that you didn't expect or experience or plan. But I mean, if you're sitting there doing research or having an adventure where your character is not really getting that much use or something like that, this can make it a little more interesting, a little bit more helpful, a little bit easier for everybody else. Because who knows, maybe you'll invent a spell that becomes highly useful and that everybody starts using, and then you'll have levels of fame you'll gain from that eventually over time too. Edge case rules. The storyteller, the dungeon master, the game master, whoever it is, whatever their title is, they are the ones who have the ultimate and final authority to decide anything, and they don't have to use the rule book to decide that. They just have to use their personal experience, the rule of cool, and whether this would really realistically work or not, and know enough about the setting to decide that. And finally, the two types of damage which kind of fell by the wayside a little bit, sort of mortal and fatal. Fatal is dead immediately, period, just like the name suggests. But mortal is you lose a certain number of hit points every round due to blood loss or due to other things. And so, like, mortal will definitely kill you, but it will take longer. Usually, for mortal damage, it takes at least 3 turns to completely kill you. But it will definitely kill you. And if it's not cured, forget it. You're toast. You've lost. And finally, the edge case ruling that I have seen and had to do once in a while is I've had to tell people who want to be paladins of atheism, no, you're not doing that. And paladins of communism of no, get the hell out of here. You're not doing that. That's ridiculous. That's completely against everything paladins even stand for. Paladins are warriors dedicated to the gods. That is the first line of what the paladin says. There can be no paladins of atheism or communism. They just can't. It's just completely unheard of, and it will not be happening at my table. Period. And I'm rebuking it because it's just ridiculous and doesn't make any sense. And it's really mostly done by people who hate religion anyway, and are like equity-minded evildoers that hate the game anyway. Like the local folks at TSR that blew up the whole system and destroyed everything that was cool about it over the course of a few years. So, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. If y'all want to do that, that's on you, but you're not doing it in my game, and you're not wrecking my game, and you're not making my game about your political beliefs, period. It's meant for everybody to be able to have fun, play a cool fantasy game that's like a video game. I mean, it's just, and that's antithetical to that.